Radio, Webster, Tarpley in Washington, D.C. Keep up with this issue and all the other issues on Tarpley.net. New postings. I've got a whole new posting up there about foreclosures and the need to freeze them. I've got a posting on the currency war, the failure of the International Monetary Fund, the split in the G20, and chaos that has emerged in the international currency markets. By the way, what we've got is a whiff of systemic crisis in the air. Systemic crisis, a la September 2008, a la flash crash of May 6th, 2010. That was a quick one, but now we're getting into a real systemic crisis. Bank of America stock down 10% in the last 2 days or so. And, of course, we're speaking here on the Ides of October. Beware the Ides of March, said the soothsayer to Julius Caesar. Beware the Ides of October, say I, to Bank of America, J.P. Morgan Chase, and the other zombie bankers. Now, the bankers, in order to facilitate their dirty speculative bubble, created MERS, Mortgage Electronic Registration System, which lists MERS as the holder of the mortgage. Therefore, it masquerades as the owner, but it's not, because the underlying promissory note is being dealt around, quite possibly with flash trading and high-frequency trading. The underlying note may have changed hands dozens of times, hundreds of times, thousands of times, millions of times, because you can do 1 million trades a second with high-frequency and flash trading. Third-party investors and pieces, it's cut up. MERS legal standing, according to the Wall Street Journal, has been questioned because it doesn't own the actual debt. Traditionally, the mortgage and the note weren't split between different parties. That's because it's illegal. Top courts in 4 states have said that MERS cannot foreclose. Cannot. If more states follow, this could throw further doubt on foreclosure proceedings. Well, it's not doubt. It's a blanket rejection. Now, remember, your last line of defense is produce the note. Show me the piece of paper I signed. That's going to carry weight in any court. If the judge won't accept it, then you've got to appeal, right? You've got to use every tactic that you can in the book, and in the meantime, build a political movement. In other words, self-defense in your own individual sphere and a political movement here go together in the obvious way. This is what you should always be doing. Here's the other thing. Where's the original note? We're told that, you had such a big bubble, and they were so sloppy and so slipshod, they originally transferred the signed notes, the actual files, the real documentation, and put them into a warehouse. But sometimes they found that it was too expensive to rent space in the warehouse or the self-storage or whatever it was, and they shredded the original notes. The original notes have been destroyed, and they no longer exist. Well, guess what? If you can't produce the note, no foreclosure. Eat the losses. You destroyed the documentation. Go to the devil, you zombie bankers. So this is what it is. Now, we've had cases also where the people who fill out the paperwork to foreclose, to take your house away, to seize your dwelling. Your home is your castle. Every Republican would endorse that. But in this case, no, because we have robo-signers. We have unpaid, the low-skill workers who can barely read and write, who simply sit there and scribble their signature or maybe make their mark on the foreclosure papers and then send that over to a robo-judge who then approves the foreclosures. Well, it's time to stop this racket. It's time to get active politically in self-defense and in order to point a way out of this crisis. The big question in the Depression is, who will pay for the Depression? Will the zombie bankers who created the Depression with their derivatives bubble and the housing subset of that, a small part of it, will the bankers pay, or will they succeed in shifting the cost of the Depression onto working families? That's the existential question, and the imperative is use some means, be it the foreclosure issue, the Tobin tax, Wall Street sales tax, or some other avenue to start making the bankers pay for the crisis. Now, if they don't have the note, if they've shredded the note, then that's beyond fixing. The whole thing is beyond fixing. If the note has been destroyed and they can't produce the note, it's beyond fixing. They lose. Eat the losses. And if they have broken the chain of ownership so that nobody knows where the real owner is, that's another one where they lose, and whoever it is going to eat the losses. So it's chaos. And therefore, the role of the federal government, of a president, if we had one, would be to reestablish legality, public order, and the normal criteria of due process. Remember, the president shall take care that the laws be faithfully enforced. And again, states cannot deprive you of life, liberty, property without due process of law. Let's keep that 14th Amendment, shall we? Let's not throw it out with this anchor baby stuff. We want to keep it for precisely these moments. So we therefore look towards elected officials. Now, in the case of Obama, it's pathetic, and we'll devote a whole thing to that. There are, however, some desperate Democrats who, and this is exactly what you'd expect, desperate Democrats who are trying to save themselves in the Tea Party tide, who are actually coming out with policies that begin to have a little bit, a tiny ingredient of economic populism of the kind that we recommend here, and that is to try to stop foreclosures for at least a time. A month, 2 months, again, we want 5 years, but 1 month, 2 months, better than nothing. Let's get them stopped, and then we have a month or two for the debate. So here's what we have. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, one of the whips of the House Democrats, is in favor of a moratorium. Again, moratorium is a very bad term because nobody knows what this means, right? Latin studies are not what they used to be, right? Cicero would have known what a moratorium was. Mora meaning delay, but let's call it a freeze. Let's call it a stop. Wasserman Schultz is for it. Congressman Chris Van Hollen of Maryland here, a member also of the Pelosi Democratic leadership. He's in favor of a 2-month freeze. He said this on Monday. We have this guy Chris Coons in Delaware who is running against the witch for the U.S. Senate. He's in favor, I believe, of a 1-month freeze on foreclosures. Alan Grayson, the outspoken Democrat down there in Florida fighting for his life against a reactionary Republican, is also in favor of some kind of freeze. However, and here's an element to be underlined, Governor Martin O'Malley of the state of Maryland has apparently gone farther than anyone in making the demand for a freeze. And O'Malley has sent a letter to the Democratic, the congressional delegation of the state of Maryland, demanding that the feds come up with a freeze. And we'll be back in a minute, but it's time to freeze foreclosures.